Hi guys, welcome to Duolingo Preparation Made Easy. This is week 1, day 3, and the trainer is Miss Shruti. Okay, these are just some basic instructions for all of you. Make sure you have a stable internet connection and a noise-free environment. We recommend you to use your earphones for the best experience. Your microphones and cameras have been turned off during the session, so any queries you have, please do put it on the chat box. Participate actively and stay on topic. Respect your instructor, your classmates, and yourself. Be respectful and professional. These are the memberships offered. As you've registered on our website, you've been upgraded to the bronze membership for free. So if you go for the silver membership, you would be getting comprehensive IELTS GRE preparation, USHOC Pro University recommendations, smart application tracking, and also free 100 hours GRE course. If you go for the gold membership, you would be getting access to one-on-one Duolingo and IELTS classes, comprehensive IELTS GRE preparation, expert university recommendations, and also a dedicated counselor for the entire application process, which includes the statement of purpose, letter of recommendation, and also visa. So we have an option called free profile evaluation with our experts. So under this, you would be getting comprehensive evaluation, university shortlisting, course recommendations, country recommendations, and a recommendations report at the end of the session. During the session, you can clarify all your doubts regarding the study abroad process with our experts. We are having free GRE live classes from Monday to Friday, 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. It's a 2-month course or an 8-week course. Okay, so guys, please do join. Now I will just explain how you can get access to all this. So this is our ubergrad.com website, right? So if you go to your name and go to My Test Preparation, you will see an option called Duolingo English Live Comprehensive Live Classes Course. Just click on View and go to week 1 and day 3. Okay. If you go here, this is the handout of today's session. I'll be sharing the link on the chat box as well. If you want the session recording of yesterday's class, you can go to listening day 2 and go to the last link. This is the link for yesterday's recording. So anybody who has missed the session can always go through this video and get the session. Right? Now, I would request. Yeah.
Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay, guys. So can you all give me a quick thumbs up if you can see my screen, guys? Okay. Cool. So we will be doing our third session today, and this week we are dealing with our reading and writing as discussed earlier. So yesterday and day before yesterday, we have completed these 4 question types, which are read and complete, read and select, listen and type. And we also have completed few questions here, which are about interactive listening, where you will be listening to the recording given by the question and then you respond to it accordingly. Okay, so the follow-up question of that particular interactive listening topic is to summarize the conversation, where all the interaction that you have had yesterday, you will be summarizing that conversation and writing about it. We'll get in details. Let's go. Okay, so the first topic that we will be discussing today is summarize the conversation. To all the people who have attended yesterday, we have dealt with something called as interactive listening. And the follow-up question for that is, you will be having a sequence of 4 to 5 questions where you will be hearing a recording and you have to respond accordingly from the options given below. Okay, so all the 4 to 5 questions, so all the 4 to 5 conversation statements together, you have to summarize them and write a paragraph. Let's look at some very important points that you need to remember here are, this particular summarizing question is going to appear right after interactive listening, and you'll be getting around 75 seconds to write the summary of the conversation you had. Okay, even before writing the summary, you should be able to read the conversation. Okay. Okay, so give me a second, guys. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. So here what is going to happen is you will be able to write the conversation. Okay, you'll be reading the conversation, and even before starting your summary, you will be getting 15 seconds period. Okay, 15 to 20 seconds period where you can review the whole conversation and write about it. Cool. Never make notes. You are not having any access to make notes. You're not supposed to have a pen or paper with you. You are not supposed to make any notes. You should be making notes only in your mind. Okay. And so this particular task is going to score you on your literacy and production scores, because you are being able to read the conversation and write, which is going to be your subscores for literacy. Okay. Whereas with production scores, okay, production scores is being able to write. Okay, come on, let's go. Now, some important tips that you should be aware of is use all the best practices for writing. Whereas what does this mean? You should be able to put your grammar, all the skills that you have achieved in your grammar and your punctuation and everything else. Okay. If at all, in the 5 to 6 choose the correct answer questions, if you are not choosing the right answer, because after choosing the right answer, you will be able to see the correct answer. Okay, even in case if you choose the wrong answer, you will still be able to see the correct answer post the question, right? So don't worry even if you have answered something incorrectly, because you will be able to see the correct answer and you will be able to have the real conversation, and write the summary accordingly. So don't worry about it. Read the conversation and focus on the latest task that you have in your hand, which is to write the summary. Okay. So you only have 75 seconds. So you should be clear about what are the main points of the conversation that you should be having in your mind, which you can summarize. Okay. So even when you're going through the conversation, try remembering just the main points that you need in the summary. Right? Okay. So let's go. Now, what I did here was we tried to give you some strategies which can help you summarize it better. Like, if you just follow the sequence of steps that I give you, you will be able to follow, you will have a clear idea, you'll have a clear sequence of how to fill up your summary. Okay. So first thing what to do is, before finishing the listening part, okay, in the end, you will be able to view the whole conversation. Here you will get some 20 seconds where you can read your whole conversation clearly. So spend all the time given to you in reading the conversation and then start writing. Okay. Now, always what you can do is, from there is a scenario given to you. If for all the guys who have been present yesterday, they know that there's a scenario given to you before, right? So the scenario itself is a small summary telling you in which situation you are going to be there, right? So it is already giving you a gist. So always focus on making some important points on your scenario itself. Okay, let's look at this example where I am giving you a scenario such as, you are a student in journalism class. After today's lecture on reporting, you approach your professor to ask them more about what it means to cultivate sources. So some important points here are, you're a journalism class student and you went to your professor to ask some questions on cultivating sources and reporting, right? So what, if I have to just add some important points, is that, see, our student has asked professor a question about class today. And what did he ask? He asked them to explain the concept of cultivating sources. Did you see how the summary itself has helped us write the scenario itself has helped us to write summary, right? So I'll make it even more easier for you. Let's look at it. Okay. So what I'll be doing is, to write a summary, we need some opening phrases, right? See, I am a student, so I'm a reporting student. I had a conversation with my professor, or I had a conversation with my friend. So there are some opening phrases which you can use in your summary, which I'll be giving few of them, which will help you out to be on spot to write it, because you only got 75 seconds to write. So you need some sentences in your mind prepared. You can't spend enough time there to form the sentences or create something of your own and write, right? Okay. Now, always write in first person. What does this mean? Which means that here you are the part of conversation. So think of yourself as being the part of the conversation. So you tell, I had a conversation with my professor today, or I had a discussion with my professor about an issue I'm facing with the class. You see, So you have to involve yourself in the situation. Imagine that you are a part of the conversation. Write it in the same way. Don't think that here the summarizing is going to be about something else. All you are doing is you have been a part of the conversation and you are summarizing about your conversation to somebody else. Just think of it in that way. Okay. Now, write full paragraph and not below points. So what is a summary? In summary, usually you have to summarize it in a paragraph. Don't try using your points because you're writing it, right? Cool. Now, so here I'm giving you a simple structure. If you see, I told you I'll be giving you a simple structure, right? How do you start the summary? There should be a sentence, right? So let's look at some of the opening phrases. I've given a lot of options here which can help you start a paragraph very easily. Okay, so the first sentence is, if you had a conversation, okay, I had a conversation with my professor, or I had a conversation with my friend about. Okay, in case if you look at this scenario, it's gonna be about cultivating sources. Okay, so if I'll take the same scenario and I'll be trying to add it in this opening phrases. Okay, see, I had a conversation with my professor about cultivating sources. Okay, or during a meeting with my professor, we discussed about cultivating sources as a reporter. Or I and my professor had a discussion on cultivating sources. During a conversation with my professor, I had asked him to explain me about cultivating sources. Okay, or my friend or my professor and I talked about a topic that I was having trouble with, which is cultivating sources. Or I and my professor discussed on cultivating sources. Did you see? No matter which topic it is, you can have an opening phrase, right? See, here we are very clear that you're going to have a conversation. During a conversation, during a meeting, okay, I had a conversation, or I and my professor, I and my friend, or discussion. You see, all these points which you can use. First, you tell that you're having a conversation, and then you will be telling about what conversation you had. Okay, did he explain you, or did you ask him what is it about? If you follow this particular sequence, that what has happened, with whom did you have the conversation, and about what you had the conversation, this is the right way to start. Is it clear? Great, right? Now, let's see some more details how we can elaborate on a summary. Okay, so a few more ideas are then. Okay, you have asked your professor to help you about cultivate sources. Then your professor might have suggested you to read some books or research about a certain topic, or you both might have discussed about some particular topics that would help you, right? So here are few ideas that I have given here which will help you elaborate. Okay, so my professor has suggested that I should be researching a little more on the sources for reporting. Or you can also say, we discussed about various sources available in the reporting industry. Or we agreed on. Okay, you both might also agree on, right? We discussed, and then you can end up with we agreed on. It's all it is completely up to you how you take the conversation, but make sure that it is in agreement with the conversation that you earlier had in your interactive listening. Okay, cool. Now, the last thing, how do you close the summary? Okay, you close the summary with an outcome. Okay, in the outcome, you say what you are going to do. Okay, there must be a discussion that you had with your professor or your friend, and there should be an outcome, right? Like both of you must have agreed on a certain topic, like how to go ahead from here, right? So here I have given some three basic statements. Just I agreed with my professor and said that cultivating sources is one of the best form of reporting, because every source might have some issue, something like that. Or we planned on, or we concluded our discussion by mentioning about how it is, and we decided. See, here it talks about how they concluded the discussion. Discussion is done, and then they decided to take a plan of action. You see how else you can modify it. So for a quick review, this is the final template. Can you see? If I take each statement from each of it, how to start the summary, and then how to elaborate on the summary, and then finally how to add the outcome, how to conclude the summary. Okay, all this I've put into this basic template, and then let's see how this template works. Okay, first let's just quickly run through the template. I had a conversation with my professor about, okay, And my professor suggested that, or my professor and I, we discussed about, or then we decided to do this. Got it? So here in the first blank, we will be talking about the topic. Second blank will be about what conversation has happened. Did the professor suggest something, or what discussion has happened between you and your professor, or you and your friend, and then what finally you guys have agreed upon, right? So this is simple. You only have 3 points in your mind. What was the discussion about? What happened during the discussion? And what was the outcome of the discussion? These 3 points, and you have your summary. Okay, even while going through your interactive listening MCQs, I want you to focus on these 3 points when you come across them. Good. Now let's try solving one. Okay, so let's look at this scenario. You are a student who is struggling to balance your extracurricular activities, your schoolwork, and you have a meeting with your professor to discuss how you can better manage your time. Okay, so what are the main important topics of this? You're having issues with managing time because of extracurricular activities, and you are going to discuss about managing time with your professor. This is the scenario, right? You already got gist about this. Okay, you can just, even if you look at it, we can just use the template. I had a conversation with my professor about managing my time better. See, you already have a sentence just from your scenario, because I was having trouble with managing it with extracurricular activities, right? Cool. Now let's see the whole conversation. You will be able to see the whole conversation from start to end post your questions of interactive listening like this. So you will have like some quickly 20 to 30 seconds to review it. I'll read the conversation for you, then we'll decide on some important points which will help us to fill us the template. Cool? Right. Let's go. So first, you say, because a student is supposed to start the conversation in interactive listening, so if the first statement is always going to be yours. Okay. So professor says, so the student says, Professor, I was hoping to talk to you about managing my time better. Professor, of course, what seems to be the issue? And the student says, I'm involved in a lot of extracurricular activities and I'm finding it tough to balance everything with all my coursework. Do you have any advice on how I can manage my time better? And the professor says, I understand. What are some of the activities that are taking up most of your time? And the student says, I'm heavily involved in the campus clubs for debates and journalism. And I'm also on the club soccer team. Professor says, okay, have you considered cutting back on some of those activities? And the student says, I have, but they're all really important to me. So I'm trying to find a way to balance them all while still keeping up with my schoolwork. And the professor says, have you tried creating a schedule to maintain your time better? And the student says, yeah, I have, but I'm having a hard time sticking to it. Do you have any suggestions? The professor said, it might be helpful to start with a smaller schedule and build up from there. Also, try to be realistic with the time you have and what you can accomplish. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. The student said, okay, thank you for your suggestions. I try to implement those and hopefully see some improvement. Okay, cool. Have you seen this conversation, guys? Now, before heading on to writing it, I want you to find 3 points here. First thing, what was the discussion about? You and Professor had, what was the discussion about? It was about finding the balance between handling the extracurricular activities and handling the coursework, right? Managing time. And so, what did the professor suggest? Professor suggested professor suggested the student to see if he was trying to cut down some activities, right? And the student was trying it, but he couldn't. Later on, they both have decided that the student should take a smaller schedule and try to build from there. Got some 3 points, basic points. It is about managing time better, and the professor suggested for him to maintain a schedule, but it was hard to stick to the schedule. So the professor asked to make a smaller schedule. Okay. Now let's try writing using this sentence. Okay. So this is our template. We have had our template here. I want you to use this template and complete each sentence of it. Okay. First, I had a conversation with my professor about I want you guys to write this in the chat box. What will you write? Okay. We have read the whole chat, a whole conversation, and I want you guys to come up with some answers. We'll write one statement after the other. Okay. So come on, let's use this template and write the summary. Come on, guys. I want you all to come up with some answers, and you should be confident by this end of session. By the end of this session about writing summaries. Okay. So, yeah, good. I see some good answers coming up here. Okay. So I see students telling that I had a conversation with my professor about time management. Great. Okay. Or managing time. But you can also elaborate on it, guys. Like, I had a conversation with my professor about managing time as I was struggling with time management due to my involvement in multiple extracurricular activities. Okay, because if you are confident in writing a lot, it is always recommended to write a lot, which will help the system to analyze your English skills and help you score better. Okay, but also you need to practice writing everything that you want to write under 75 seconds and also check what you're writing. Good. Now let's look at the second statement. Okay, my professor suggested, or my professor, or we discussed about. Okay, what did they discuss about? Come on, you had the whole conversation for you. Try writing this. What did they discuss about? Try completing the sentence, and if possible, try elaborating on it. Come on. This is very easy, guys. We've already went through the whole chat. We've discussed about it. Come on. So you guys have, like, the professor and the student have discussed about time management. But what did the discussion happen about? The discussion happened about, okay, so here the professor has suggested the student to cut down on some of the extracurricular activities, right? You can talk about that here. You can also come up with some different answers which I can approve of. Go on, try. Okay. So whoever is not being able to view my screen can disconnect and try reconnecting. Okay. Cool. So what I would suggest here is you can tell my professor suggested me to cut down on some of the extracurricular activities to manage my time better. Okay. About cutting down the time for the particular activity. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So that is good. Okay. Here you have to make few pointers while reading the chat to know about what you can talk about. And here now we have reached the concluding point where we are talking about we decided. So what was the conclusion and how will you be concluding? Come on, try writing this concluding point. This will complete your summary. So what was our conclusion? This is very easy. What did they conclude upon? So, come on, it's easy. You won't be getting much time to write in the examination as well, right? So try writing faster. Okay. Okay. In the next 20 seconds, I'll be coming up with the answer, guys. Cool. Okay. So, what did they discuss about? We decided that, okay, few answers started coming up. We decided that cut down some courses. We decided to cut down on some courses. Okay. So that is the point of discussion, but the decision, if you guys remember, they both, the student and the professor have decided that the student should, look at this, the student should start with a smaller schedule. Okay, see, the professor has recommended student to start with a smaller schedule and build from there, right? So this was the conclusion. Always try to remember What was the conclusion point? This is very important to understand if you are following the sequence of the conversation. Okay, from the scenario, you will get what the topic is about. From the conversation, you will be understanding what the professor has suggested. Even this is another trick that you can use, guys. When you will be getting the 20 to 30 seconds to review the conversation, just focus on the professor's conversation, because you already know from the scenario what is the topic about. And if you just look at the professor conversation, you will understand, oh, my professor has suggested me to cut back on some of the activities. So you already know what he has said. Okay, and then again continue reading with the professor. Whatever the professor says, you mostly agree on it. So you can just, professor, we have decided, or professor finally asked me to start with a smaller schedule, right? So just reviewing the statements that have come from the professor side will make it really easy for you to write your summary. Okay, cool. Now let's go to the next. Okay, let's look at the summary before going to the next topic. I had a conversation. Okay, this is the complete answer, guys. I had a conversation with my professor about how I can better manage my time, as I was finding it hard to balance all my extracurricular activities with my coursework. Right? See how well this expansion on the answer has happened. Sorry. Okay, how well they have expanded on the answer. Now, my professor suggested that. See, my professor suggested that I should try to cut back on some of them, which means them meant the extracurricular activities here. Okay. In the last, we also discussed on how to manage my time better, starting with a smaller schedule and building up from there. Okay. If you also have more time and you want to elaborate on it, you can also add this particular sentence at the end of there. Okay. Additionally, we decided that I should be realistic with all the time I have and what I can accomplish, and not be afraid to ask for help when I need it. So this, if you exactly remember the conversation that you had with your professor, then this is going to be helpful. Otherwise, I would like to suggest you to write as much as you're confident about, and how much ever you're writing, make sure that your grammar is perfectly. If you are confident with your grammar, then write as much as you can. If you are not, stick to the number of words that was recommended by the question and make sure you write as much as you can. Good. Now, the second type of question that we are going to discuss about is one of the most important questions in the examination, which is called write about the photo. Okay, and it's one of the most interesting questions too, if you know how to write about it. Okay. So some of the very important points that you need to remember about this particular question is that you will be getting 1 whole minute to complete about it. Okay, so you should write. You are you are required to write at least one sentence, or you can also write more if you can. Okay, so minimum 1 sentence is expected out of you, maximum as much as you can. Okay, write in full and complete sentences. And you might get this question 3 to 4 times, which means you might get a photo and you have to write about it for at least 3 to 4 times. Each time there will be a different photo, obviously. Okay, so try using different kind of writing each time, which means I'll give you some introductory statements, some concluding statements. You can look into it. Okay, cool. So some important times are learn introductory statements, like how to introduce the photo. Every time you can't say the photo says, the photo shows, the photo shows. If the system reads the same word multiple times, then even the system understands that you must have just read this in key, right? If you try using a different introductory statement for each photo, the system thinks that okay, the student is using different sentence to write about each photo, which means the student must be knowing a lot of English. This will help you score better, right? Okay, cool. So memorize this statement and practice typing them out quickly. Okay, because you only got 1 minute to write, so you have to type faster, quicker, and also you have to type right. And be descriptive. Okay, so describe what is happening in the photo. So suppose if it's about a picture of a person, is the person sitting, or is the person standing, is the person tall, is the person dark? How is the background of the picture? Is it white or is it dark? Is it a forest? Is it a house? Is it a water? Is it water? Right? You can try describing what is happening in the picture always. And you can also make a guess or prediction. What is making a guess or prediction? What if I had to tell, okay, the person in the picture looks sad. Probably he must be going through some loss. Okay, I just made a prediction because I saw there's a sad person standing in the photo, right? Or if there is a spoon on the table in the photo, I would say, okay, so the person who ate did not take the spoon on the table, right? So I can also make some predictions. This will make it interesting. Okay, and always make sure you are doing the spellings right and punctuation, which means if there is an exclamation, okay, put an exclamation mark. Or if it is a full stop, if you're ending a sentence, or if you're continuing a sentence with a comma, make sure you're using your punctuation and spellings right. And here also, always write only as much as you're confident about. If you're confident with your English, if you can write more sentence, always write more. If you're not, if you can write only one sentence confidently with using as much as grammar that you're confident about, go for it. Okay, and always have some time in the last to review what you have written, to check and to score better. Now, okay, this is how you'll be scored on. You will be scored on how correct your grammar is and how variety and level of grammar, because this question is repeated at least 3 to 4 times. What different kind of words are you using is very important. The level of vocabulary used, which means try using synonyms, try using describing, when you're describing the things in the photo, try using different words. Okay, and the variety and word choice, how well you answer the question. Which so when you look at the picture, if there's a man in the picture and you talk about a woman in the description, it might look like there is some irrelevant thing. Or if you are talking about a person, but there is no person in the photo, it is not a relevant task, right? Try keeping the description at a point where it is completely relevant to the task that is given to you. Okay, and you can so how much you can say or write is limited time. Okay, you already so it is also going to be about how much are you being able to write in the limited time. You only have 1 minute. You have to view the picture for 10 minutes, sorry, 10 seconds, and you should write in like 30 to 40 seconds, and then you should use the last 20 seconds to review what you write, right? So yeah, here you'll also be judged on how fluent you are in your English. Now, and the pronunciation and phrase, it is different. It is going to be used in your speaking session. Okay, now this is your image. This is our sample image. Okay, so what I will try as an example, all the examples I've given before, we'll try using it and we'll try writing this, and then we will solve some answers. Okay, so what can you see here? First, how do you introduce a picture, right? So here I'm giving you some introduction statements. What do you use? The image depicts, or the image shows, or this picture shows, or in this photograph there is a woman, right? I can talk about this picture using the 3 statements. This image depicts a woman looking at pineapples in a supermarket, or this image shows a woman wearing a bag and holding a cart, or this woman, okay, in this photograph there's a woman standing and watching at pineapples. Did you see? Just using these 3 statements we are able to just look at the image and make an introductory statement, right? Isn't it interesting? Do you want to try writing your own statement? Soon we'll get there. Okay, see, look at this example. This is a picture of a woman shopping in a supermarket, right? That's what we said. And statement 2 said this image shows a woman shopping for a fruit in a supermarket. See, here they are giving some detailing. She's looking for a fruit in a supermarket. Cool. Now, let's go for the second. Now, what I asked you, after introducing, we should be descriptive. We should be talking about what we observe in the picture, right? So, how can you be descriptive? How can you be elaborative? You have to talk, or you have to write about the actions of the person or any subject in the image. So, it's not like always you'll be getting an image with a person in it, right? Sometimes it can be an animal, or sometimes there could not be any person and just an object, and you have to talk about the object, right? So, yeah. So, write about the actions of the person or main subject in the image. Always try using the person look happy, right? You can talk about the image. Now, you can also describe about the objects or people, right? You know, suppose we can say that in the picture, the supermarket looks crowded, right? You're also talking about the background. Describe the objects or people. Okay, I can also tell she is a white woman. She looks lean and tall. I can also describe her, right? And she has short hair. That is also description. You can also write about the location of the things in the image. Okay, you can also tell that the pineapples that she was looking at were on the left side of her cart. Did you see how I am increasing the description of the sentences? She's just looking at the pineapples, or she's looking at the pineapples which are placed on the left side of the cart. That's how you increase the description. Like imagine, yeah, simple. Imagine that there's a photo given to you and you have to describe it to a person who can't see. Who can't see, how would you describe? Okay, there's a blue shirt girl standing there in the supermarket looking at pineapples which were placed on the left side of her. Can you see that? How easy it is? Just look at it with a perspective that you are explaining it to a person who can't see. Nice, right? So now let's look at, so there's something also that you can do is write about the location, right? This will help you guys. You can use something called as prepositional phrases, which will help you write about the position of the surroundings. If you see, okay, on top, okay, at the top, or to the left there are pineapples, or to the right there was nothing, or to the center in the, or she looks to be in the center of the supermarket, or in the corner there is a what is this? There is a helper, right? He looks like a helper. In the corner of, in the left corner, that looks like a helper. Or at the bottom, or under the table. You can write. You can use this words to describe the position of something. Okay. Or I can also write in the background, or in the foreground, or in front of the person there is a bottle, or directly opposite to the woman in the picture there's another man who is looking at her, or exactly in the middle, right? Roughly in the middle of, in close proximity to, just above, parallel to. Okay, this image you will also be receiving in your handouts. See, to the left, to the right, at the top, on top of, in the center, in the corner, at the bottom, right? Under, beneath, underneath, below. If you remember this table, you will be able to remember all the words which will help you in prepositional phrases. Let's see how you can be descriptive about this. Okay, so this is a picture of a young woman. See how we are describing, she's not just a woman, she's a young woman. Okay, so this is a picture of a young woman shopping for a fruit in a supermarket. She's looking down. See how we are describing, where is she looking? This is a prepositional phrase. She's looking down at the large pile of ripe pineapples. They are telling it's a large pile. First description, and again it's a they are looking at a large pile of ripe pineapples. See how they are trying to describe everything that they are seeing. Okay, that are to her left, and thinking hard about whether to buy one or not. See here how she's predicting if she should be buying those pineapples or not. Right? Imagine yourself in the shoes and try predicting this. Okay, in the last one, last thing that you can do is make a guess or prediction. Okay, how do you start a guess or a prediction? You can write with some statements such as, it seems like, okay, it looks like she wants to buy a pineapple, or I guess that she is not sure about buying the pineapples, or I think she is a pineapple pizza fan, or see, use model verbs such as, she might make a pineapple pizza at home. That's how she looks at the pineapple. See, you can use a prediction. You can make it funny, you can make it interesting, you can make it anything. But make sure that is relevant to the image that is given to you. Okay. So now let's look at an example prediction. See, it seems that she's going to buy one of these pineapples. I guess, see, here we're guessing. That is also a prediction. I guess she won't buy a pineapple this time. Or the last one says, I think she's having a hard time choosing the best pineapple to buy. Great, right? So also, there's nothing right prediction and nothing wrong prediction. Okay, but using the right grammar while making a prediction is very important. Now, also, as I told you, we have to be using right spelling and punctuations. Always start a sentence with your capital letter when you are writing, and end a sentence with your full stop, or if you're putting a question there, use a question mark or an exclamation mark. Use a comma to separate a series of sentences. Okay, cool. Now let's go. Now, also make sure that you complete it before 10 to 15 seconds so that you can read it and correct any errors such as punctuation or spelling mistakes. Now, let's look at the final answer. This is a picture of a young woman shopping in a supermarket. She's looking down at the large pile of ripe pineapples to her left and thinking hard about whether to buy one or not. She might be having a hard time making up her mind. You see, it's very simple. Now, all you have to think about in the mind is, okay, what is there in the image? And what is the image? What is the object in the image doing? Okay, describe the image and talk about the surroundings. And also you can make a prediction. So talk about what is happening in the image, then about the surroundings and the prediction. Simple. Now, whenever you look at an image, you have to look at the simple thing. Okay, what is happening in the photo? Okay, and then what are the surroundings? Is it a green surrounding, or is it a forest surrounding, or is it in a IT park? Okay, or what is happening? And you can make a prediction, right? So simple. Now let's try writing one, right? Okay, this is another example. We have done it. Okay, good. So give me 1 second, guys. Okay, we'll try doing this. Let me just, yeah. So let's try doing this right now. Okay, so here I've already used the introductory statement such as he's standing. Look at this picture, and I don't want you to use any of these introductory statements and write a statement of your own. Come on. What would you use? What could be the first introductory statement? Imagine that you are showing this image to a person who cannot see. And what would be the sentence you would be using to explain what is happening in the picture? Come on. So easy, guys. Try writing. Come on. It's very easy. Simple. There's a lot happening in this picture. And the example itself tell you a lot. It says, he is standing in front of the interactive screen and gesturing politely. Okay, that is something that is happening in picture. Okay, and this is an image of a modern classroom. The teacher is standing in front of the students who sat in rows. See how it is describing about what the classroom is about. And if I have to answer, I'll say, so this image shows a bunch of students sitting in front of a teacher who is trying to explain in an interactive screen, right? Or I can say, this image shows, or the image depicts a classroom with 5 students sitting and a teacher explaining something to them, right? That is what is happening, right? Now, let's try describing the surroundings. Come on, guys, let's try describing the surroundings here. How do you describe the surroundings? Okay, so if I was supposed to do it, or I see some of the answers coming in about describing the surroundings, they see the students seem very much interested in the class. Probably the teacher is teaching in a very interesting way. See, so here from the backside, you are also being able to predict how interesting the students feel. Okay, so one student is, the picture shows that the teacher starts in front of students and explains about some topics using projector. Okay, the teacher is teaching in front of students. Everything else is perfect, right? Cool. Anything else, guys? Now, when we are describing the surroundings, we are going to describe it this way. The students are listening carefully to what the teacher is saying. Or this is an interactive screen to the left of the teacher. There is an interactive screen to the left of the teacher and a whiteboard directly behind you. Can you see how here we are describing the surroundings? There's an interactive screen to the left of the teacher, and there's a whiteboard behind him. Did you see the observation? I did not observe a whiteboard behind the teacher, but this particular statement did. Okay, so can you guys try writing a little more about it? Try being descriptive about some other things. Okay, I can say that there's a laptop to the right of the teacher from where he is running the projector, right? From where he is running the slides on the projector. Okay. So here the teacher is discussing about some charts. That's a very interesting observation. Okay, good. So the teacher is discussing about some charts on the left on the projector. right? This is also talking about some prepositional phrases. Very interesting. Okay, cool. Now the last one, let's make a guess or prediction. Some of the guesses and predictions, let's make a, he must be an effective teacher as the young students are focusing well on the lesson. Okay, see here I'm making a prediction that he's a good teacher. Okay, and let's look at the other statement which says there's a large interactive screen behind the teacher that is likely being used for an educational game. So here this statement is predicting that the slide that is used in the projector is for an educational game. See, you can also think about anything and everything, right? Okay, so if I have to tell, I would tell that the teacher is trying to teach the student about bar charts, right? You can talk about it. And you can also see this. There's a game over statement written in the projector. Probably the students have tried playing a game. Okay, some students are telling that on the backside of the teacher there's a whiteboard. That's an observation. Good. Here we're looking for a prediction, a guess. What might be happening in the class, right? See, look at the statement. There's a large interactive screen behind the teacher that is likely being used for an educational. So they're telling that they might be using the screen for an educational game. Can you see? There's a game over written on it, right? This is a good way of teaching students. So that's how we do. So let's look at the whole sentence. How you could have written a whole sentence. This is a photo of a teacher teaching a class of young school students. The students are listening carefully to what the teacher is saying. He must be an effective teacher as the students are focusing well on the lesson. Okay. So the first statement is talking about what the photo is about. It's about teacher and school students. The second statement is telling about what is happening. You know, they're describing that the students are clearly listening to the teacher, what he's saying. And the third one is about they are making a prediction that the teacher is a good teacher. Okay. Now let's look at the statement 2. It says, this is an image of a modern classroom. Okay. Because of the projector, they're calling it a modern classroom. The teacher is standing in front of the students who sat in rows. So here they are using for description, they're using completely prepositional phrases such as the teacher is standing in front of the students and who sat in rows. So they're telling the students who are sitting in rows, right? So here they are trying to describe how the students are sitting. And the last statement says there's a large interactive screen behind the teacher. Okay, so here they're telling again behind the teacher, they're using a prepositional phrase. They're telling the position of an object with respect to an object in the image, right? That is prepositional phrase. And which here also they're making a prediction that is this is likely being used for an education. Great. So guys, I hope you use all the strategies to write the summary and write about the photo, because this is the best way of writing after going through a lot of strategies to make it easier and better. Upagrad has come up with these strategies, which has helped a lot of students do better in their examinations. Okay, we also have our handouts given to you in the link that is provided to you earlier in the website. You can also take multiple tests in your Duolingo examination practice. Okay, so if you have, do let me know, and I'll be helping you out. Do let us know in the chat box. So I see no questions. Shall I consider no doubts?